Hi, y'all. What's up?
What's up?
I'm Garrett.
I'm Ashley.
You're in the dead spot. Dead spot.
All right. So you want to start by talking about some current events?
Sure. What's going on?
Well, did you see the news recently about that woman who they think was like faking her own abduction?
Kind of. I don't know really much more than that, but
Where she like called 911, said she saw a toddler on the side of the road just walking down the highway, and then turns out that was all a lie.
again, that's all I know about it because I saw that TikTok with the Kevin Hart bit. Because maybe she just stole it from Kevin Hart.
I don't know. She like left her whole car there, her purse, her keys, her ID, everything. And then they found out that she was Googling things like the movie Taken.
Nice.
And
Taken 2.
did she have to pay for an Amber Alert?
And Taken 3.
And just really weird stuff. But, I mean, the whole thing kind of sucks, though, because I feel like...
It undermines people who actually need help.
Well, it undermines black women who need help, who don't get as much airtime, or, you know, it's never national news when they go missing. And now it kind of just, like, taints the whole thing for all of them.
Well, like I saw another TikTok. It was a lady. She like stitched herself because at first she's like, I don't even know what her name is, but she's like, this is what's her name, and then she cuts herself off. And she's like, I was really fucking scared about you. I did this shit about you. I thought about you, blah 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 blah, and you just ruined this for people who actually need help. And you know, you're just taking resources and time away and focus away, and now people are less likely to believe people, which makes sense. But all for what?
I don't know.
Why?
It sounds like she needs, like, probably, like, mental help.
Sure.
But, I mean, that's what I saw. Did you see anything else recently?
I saw Post Malone on Monday. You remember?
I was there.
Yeah, that was cool.
And we did watch that documentary about the Duggar family. Pretty fucked up.
Yeah, well, I guess that could be a different talk for a different time, but there's
We're going to talk about the Duggar family on one of our episodes.
Well, just the...
Cults?
Cults, that's a thing.
That church is definitely a cult.
Well, most of them are. You know.
I mean, but that one definitely is.
Oh, of course. Be subservient to your master, which is your husband. Have 1 million children. Cabbage Patch dolls are evil. And so is dressing like a whore. Which looks like any regular dress that any regular women
Which looks
would
like
wear
wearing
these days.
shorts and a t-shirt.
And all these things are happening in, what was it, 80s, 90s until today.
Oh, it's still
Before
happening
that?
today. It's very relevant.
What was that guy's name?
Jim Bob?
No, the Gotthard guy. Gothard.
I don't remember.
Who cares?
He was creepy. He was a creepy old man.
Yeah, he's hugging on little boys.
No, he wasn't hugging on little boys.
Oh, that was the other guy.
He was sexually assaulting young women at the office or wherever they got to go as like their ultimate step.
There was that other guy who was spanking that little boy's butt, and he's like, "Yeah,
that was him. That was that same guy."
That's what I just said. That's what I meant.
Yeah, but that was like that was like showing them how to punish children, even though he didn't even have any children.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he enjoyed it. Spanking on little butts.
Stop saying that. It's weird.
Spanking that little booty.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah, Post Malone was fun.
Yeah, it was.
So, if you've never heard of Post Malone before, he's up and coming.
He's pretty here.
He's pretty cool.
He's pretty relevant.
So you might want to check him out before he gets too big. And
I mean, I think he's already like too big.
You just want to hop on the train before it takes off. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's big. Most people know him. Even my mom knows Post Malone.
Oh, for the record, like in WoW, when he says your grandmama probably know me.
Your grandma knows Post Malone.
I asked grandma, and she also. She confirmed that earlier today also. I was like, yeah, we saw Post Malone. She's like, oh, I know what he looks like with all the tattoos on his face and stuff. And I was like, that's the guy.
Yeah, I remember she said that if he was playing in Vegas and we wanted to go see him, she's coming too.
Well, you better be in the front row that time.
All right, well, that's all we have for current events this week.
Anyway.
So, we're going to get into it. We're going to do our first murder case.
Murder.
We're going to do the murder of Jonathan Amerault. Have you ever heard of him?
No, not since I asked you how to spell his last name.
I think when I start talking about it, when I get to the one part, you're going to know who it is.
Okay.
Because what happens to him is completely fucked.
Well,
I mean, all murder is, like, completely fucked up, but this is, like, another level.
Well, since you mentioned that I might have heard of it somewhere else, then...
You looked it up, didn't you?
I didn't look it up, but now that we keep saying his name, now it's starting to sound a little familiar, so go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right, well, let's get into it.
Sure.
All right, so we're going to start with, like, talking a little bit about Jonathan, since he's the victim in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So he was 25. Jonathan Amerault was born in Rangeley, Maine on January 27th, 1995. 1995?
It's the same year Post Malone was born.
It's the same year my brother was born.
Right? Wait. Never mind. Not important. Go ahead.
His parents are Kenneth and Justine. Jonathan graduated with honors from Rochester Institute of Technology, otherwise known as RIT.
R.I.T.
With a bachelor's of science in biomedical engineering. So he was, like, super smart. He was employed at Teleflex in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, as a biomedical manufacturing engineer. He met Britany Barron at Teleflex, where she worked as a machine operator. So he loved hiking. He scaled 66 of the 67 4,000 plus foot mountains of northern New England.
Do you know which one he didn't do?
Including all 48 in New Hampshire. No.
Okay.
He also served in the Boys and Girls Club as a camp counselor, and he was twice awarded the White House Youth Volunteer of the Year award from President Obama and President Bush.
Nice.
And he loves sports.
Same.
Guess what team?
Where's he from? Maine?
Mm-hmm.
The Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yep, he loved all Boston teams. Red Sox, Bruins, Patriots, Celtics.
Not me. Not us.
Not you.
Okay, I'll speak for myself. Not me. Sorry. Go Bills.
Okay. So what happened is on the night of September 19th, 2020, Armando Barron, who is Britany's husband.
2020. So very recent.
So very recent, yep. So, her husband went into a jealous rage after seeing messages on Snapchat between his wife and the victim.
Okay.
But, like, then I was wondering, how did he see these messages? Because how long do messages last on Snapchat? So I looked it up.
I'm not sure if you're about to tell me, but I'm not sure because I haven't had it for years.
But, like, isn't the whole point of Snapchat so everything gets deleted?
Well, you have screenshots and stuff. So
well, yeah, but if you screenshot something, they can see it.
So, did she screenshot messages and he just saw those?
No.
Okay.
So what happened? So I looked it up.
Nice.
I just said a lot of people use Snapchat because your pictures can't be saved without the other person's knowledge. And same thing with messages. So if you screenshot messages, the other person can see it.
Yep.
Snapchat claims that deleting is our default. That's like their thing.
Uh-huh.
And so I said, so how did Armando see these messages between his wife and the victim? Most messages are deleted as soon as you view them, but some messages won't be deleted right away if someone replies, saves, or reacts to your message, which is probably how he saw the messages on his wife's phone.
Fair. Makes
if
sense.
they were, like, having a conversation.
That'll make sense.
All right, so back to the night of September 19th, 2020. Armando Barron allegedly lured 25-year-old Jonathan Amerault to a park across state lines in Massachusetts and brutally murdered him. Prosecutors believe Jonathan Amerault was ambushed by Armando Barron, beaten, and then tried to get his wife to make the killing blow, which she wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
So, 1 week before the murder, Britany had told her husband that she didn't love him anymore and she wanted a divorce.
Rough.
And guess how her husband responded to this?
Not well.
He responded to this by choking Britany unconscious.
So, I was right.
Mm-hmm. So
not good.
So from what I learned from like all the court testimony and everything, she was clearly a victim of domestic violence.
Yes.
So a week later, Britany and Amerault became friends. So they weren't even friends for that long, like before this entire murder took place. Britany claims her and the victim were just friends, although during her testimony she did admit that they had kissed a couple times in the past. Britany claims she told Jonathan she couldn't be in a relationship with him and that friendship was all she had to offer. Britany claims she would log out of her phone so that Armando would not be able to read her private messages. But on September 19th, Armando read her messages and found out about her friendship with Amerault. Was this the first time he had seen these messages?
Yeah? No.
Yes.
Yes. Well, because I'm just thinking, because I remember how you said, whoever you were listening to, they're like, it's always the iPad.
Oh, call her daddy, Alex Cooper.
So,
Shout out Alex Cooper.
Did he use like a connected iPad or other device maybe and like see him in real time perhaps?
No, he like went into her phone. That's how he found out.
Okay.
Because she had said that, you know, she wanted a divorce, she didn't love him anymore, so he was like, well, who are you?
Right.
Who are you with? That's not me, essentially.
So straight to the phone. No
iPad.
No bullshit. No bullshit. Just went straight for it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. I'm going to find this out. Here I come.
I mean, it kind of just sounds like she tried to log out of all of her apps, but she just didn't log out that night. According to testimony by Britany Barron, after Armando saw the messages, he grabbed her by the throat, slammed her to the ground, choking her on and off for several minutes, essentially strangling her.
Well, I mean, I've never done it before, but I've always heard that it takes a lot to strangle somebody, so how long? How many times? Several times?
It just says on and off for several minutes.
Minutes are long, especially when you're doing something like that.
Oh, that's not even the worst of this. This is just the beginning.
Okay.
This isn't even the worst of it.
Okay, I'll save my energy.
All right. So after strangling her for several minutes, Armando then dragged her to the living room, choked her some more, and then dragged her into their bedroom and shut the door. Before shutting the door, Armando yelled to their kids to go next door to their grandmother's house and were told to stay there.
Okay.
Their kids.
How old are these children?
I couldn't really find a lot about the kids. I saw in a couple sources that they had 3 kids, but they really only talk about one of the kids, who's 9, that they end up, like, at the end, they find him with her.
So, basically, children that need care of a parent and not teenagers.
Right, they're young, very young kids.
Right.
Which, obviously, is not a great household to grow up in when clearly your dad is beating your mom up.
I wouldn't think so.
Alright, so after the kids had left, Britany testifies that Armando continued his assault on her. He punched her in the face over and over again so that she wouldn't be able to scream for help. She alleges that Armando then shoved a gun into her mouth, a .45 caliber he referred to as Judge, which I thought was like, I was like, oh, okay. This is badass. But then I read in some sources that that's literally the type of gun it is.
Oh, never mind.
It's called like a Judge something.
I thought it was just being a cool guy.
Yeah, me too. At first I was like, oh, he's hardcore. And then I was like, just kidding.
This is my judge, jury, and I'm the executioner.
Yeah, pretty much. Sounds like a 5-finger death punch song.
Hell yeah.
Alright, so anyway, so he referred to it as Judge. After he shoved the gun in her mouth, he told her, you know you're going to die tonight, right? She nods her head yes, and then Armando told her to get dressed and that they were going for a drive.
All right.
That's so scary.
Yeah. Well, most of the time you don't know when you're going to die, so being told you're going to is pretty jarring.
Yeah. So Armando then held her at gunpoint and told her, don't do anything stupid or else the girls are going to walk into something gruesome, alleging that if she didn't go with him, he would murder her and let their kids walk in and find their mom dead on the floor.
Husband of the year.
According to Britany's testimony, Armando drove them to Annette Wayside Park, where he began messaging Jonathan, pretending to be Britany, in order to get Jonathan to come and meet her. On the way to the park, Armando read each of her messages with Jonathan out loud, striking her after every message he read. Once the victim showed up, Armando began asking him if he was trying to have sex with his wife, and then just began attacking him.
Okay.
Armando hit Amerault over and over again, kicking him and even stomping on his face. Britany claims she was forced to take part in the beating and even slit his wrists, but maintains that she wouldn't take the fatal shot.
Okay, what?
I didn't get to the fatal shot part.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, so...
But what happens is he, like, So she alleges that they were standing over him, and he, like, put his gun in her hand and put his hand over it and tried to get her to pull the trigger, which she refused. She wouldn't do it.
So, they're at a park.
Yeah, they're doing this all in a public park.
What time is it? Like...
It's late.
Okay. So nobody should be walking by.
It's, like, evening.
Well, most parks close at dusk, so they're not even allowed to be there. That's also a crime.
Yeah, well, trust me, that's the least of their
They're
problems.
trespassing.
That's the least of the crimes that are about to happen.
You can't trespass in a park. That's not good. It's not allowed.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we all did it as teenagers.
Well...
Okay, back to the story.
Doesn't matter.
All right. At one point, Britany and Jonathan were alone together in the car, where Jonathan asked her to kill her husband using a machete that was left in the car.
Wait, what? Amerault asked her to kill...
Because he left Britany and Amerault in the car together.
Okay.
While he was, like, out getting, like, his gun or something.
Okay, that just crossed wires in my head. So, she asked...
No, he asked her to kill her husband because he, like, just got the shit kicked out of him.
Right, yeah, because, okay, so he can't. So he's like, hey, you gotta take care of this.
Yeah, and she says no.
Okay.
Because she doesn't want to possibly risk not killing him, and then he'll kill both of them. So she's essentially trying to stay alive, but...
But she has a gun?
No, he had a machete in his car.
Ugh, right.
So she was like, if I don't make this killing blow, he's going to kill us both.
Yeah, I mean, a weapon like that, I guess if you're not confident, then you might...
who's confident with a machete unless you live in, like, wherever people constantly use machetes?
Danny Trejo.
They
made a whole movie about it. It's called Machete. It's in his name.
God. Okay, whatever.
Jason Voorhees.
That's not a real person.
We'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Amerault begged for his life, telling Armando, I won't tell anybody, I'll never see her again, please let me live. Armando literally gave no fucks.
Nah.
He did not care. He was not going to let this guy leave.
He's too far in now.
He then forced Amerault into the back of his own hatchback. He proceeded to tell Amerault that he was going to let him live. But then he turned and pointed his gun at Amerault.
The judge.
Yep. Amerault told Armando, I really thought you were going to let me live. Armando replied by shooting Amerault 3 times, saying, then I guess that makes both of us liars, and shut the door.
Well, it sounds like he's been watching too many movies. Because that sounds like some movie type shit, where it's like the one-liner before you know.
I just can't imagine, like, someone being like doing all of this just because you saw some messages on your phone? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's quite an escalation. I mean, he jumped straight to choking her out instead of being like, yo, what the fuck?
Well, he's clearly a violent person. I mean, that's not a shock here in this story.
So, he's got a short fuse, and he escalates very quickly. So, you just saw messages?
Yeah, I saw messages on Snapchat between them.
Like...
But she had already told him she wanted to get a divorce, and then he tried to strangle her, so...
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything
I read in some sources that because Armando has his wife drive their car back to their home in Jaffrey, because they have to get, like, camping supplies and, like, you know, like, cleaning supplies to clean up a body.
Supplies.
And then he ends up making Britany take Amerault's car to the campsite.
Mm-hmm.
And I read in a source that Britany testifies that she could hear Amerault, like, making sounds in the back, that he was still alive.
Right. Not dead yet.
Not dead yet.
In the trunk. Mm-hmm. Well, back seat, because it's a hatchback.
Mm-hmm. So, after that, he has Britany and Armando drive 200 miles to a remote campsite. And well, like I said, Armando is in the couple's car. Britany is driving Amerault's car. Once they arrive at the campsite, Armando forced Britany to cut off Jonathan's head.
Again.
While he watched.
Again, with the quick escalation. So while he's alive, also.
Well, no, at this point he's dead.
Oh, okay. So he's dead in the car.
Because they drove 200 miles. I mean, he's not going to be alive by then.
Oh, boy. 200 miles. See, average about 65, so what, about a 3-hour drive? Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's dead now. And he's like, yo, just straight to it, just cut his fucking head off.
Well, he asked her to cut his head off so that there would be no dental records of his body. So they wouldn't be able to identify him. Because let's just forget about, fingerprints and blood and other things that would help identify a person.
Do they forget about fingerprints? Or do they take care of that?
How about you just let me finish?
I'm just asking the tough questions.
Well, these aren't tough questions. You're just not letting me get to the rest of the story. Anyway, so he forced her to cut off Jonathan's head while he watched. He made her bury it and then wrap his body in a tarp.
Big blue tarp.
So according to Britany, Armando planned to drive to Keene, which is where Jonathan lived, to send text messages from Jonathan's phone on Monday to let everyone know that he was okay. Because he knew, once Monday came around, he didn't show up to work. People are going to be like, where is this guy?
Okay, now see, that's a thing I've mentioned to you before. If there's any benefit to being a good employee, it's that if you one day, you show up regularly, show up what you gotta do, even if you don't like it, you fucking hate the people you work with, doesn't matter, just show up every day, do what you gotta do. If you miss one day, no call, no show,
people start to wonder.
They're gonna notice, and they're gonna be like, oh, that's not like them. We should be concerned now. So, if you're a good employee and you go missing or you get murdered, then people are gonna perk up and take a look at that. Don't be a slave to the man or anything, but I'm just saying.
Which is what ends up happening.
Show up, and then when you don't.
When Armando returned home, he had gotten word from his mother that the police were looking for Britany since she also failed to show up to work Monday morning. So since they both failed to show up, Jonathan's mom reports him missing. She's like, he would not miss work. This is not like him. I have not spoken to him. And then they were also looking for Britany since she also didn't show up to work Monday morning, and people knew that they were friends. So they found it very odd that both of them just happened to not show up to work because they both always showed up.
And how many days was he missing?
This happened,
before it was reported by his mother?
I don't know. I think this happened on a Friday or a Saturday.
Because, as we hear a lot, when people are like, my so-and-so is missing, and they're like, nah, they just ran away. It's too soon.
Yeah, but that's with kids.
They'll come back. I don't know. It's some adults
is that
too.
Also
they're
adults?
They're like, they'll be back. They're just having an episode or some shit. But it's like, you don't know these people. This family knows these people, and if they report them missing, then something's clearly wrong.
Yeah, the whole we have to wait 48 hours before we start looking for someone is crazy.
Yeah, that's no good. That's a mess.
Because the first 48 hours are the most important time to find somebody.
It's true. They made a show about finding him in the
first
murder
48?
suspect in the first 48 hours.
Shout out.
Yeah, A&E. What's up?
All right, so Armando then ordered Britany to drive to an area where there was cell service so she could text her friends and family and let them know that she was leaving for a while in order to clear her head. Once they did that, he then smashed Amerault's phone on a nearby rock and gave part of the smashed phone to Britany while he threw the rest out the window while they were driving. Which later she ends up taking the cops to that exact area and showing them everything.
Do you remember that scene from Pineapple Express? When he's like, we gotta smash our phones. He's like, I'm rusty, or whatever the fuck. When's the last time I smashed a phone? You smash it on a rock. I'm rusty. When's the last time I smashed a phone? That's just what I'm thinking of now. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Once they arrived back at the campsite, Armando began burning Jonathan's car manual along with his credit cards and his
car manual.
Yeah, I don't know why, but his car manual along with his credit cards and his driver's license.
Okay. I don't even use my car manual for anything. So
I don't know what your car manual has. It's not like it has your name in it. Unless they mean like his registration.
I don't know. Maybe he did put his name in the manual. Why would
Who
you
puts
do
their
that,
name
though?
in their manual?
I don't know.
Have you ever done that? Because I haven't.
Like I said, I don't know the last time I opened it. So, I don't know.
Anyway, so Armando left the next day and told his wife that she better have the body buried by Friday, when he would then bring their 3 daughters to tell her goodbye for the very last time. Does this mean he planned to kill Britany after this? I seem to think so.
Sounds like it.
So Armando then leaves the murder weapon with Britany as a form of protection, I put that in quotes, from wildlife. She was also told to dispose of the murder weapon when she was done, and the saw she used to decapitate Jonathan with.
So the protection weapon is the
murder weapon.
Machete?
No,
the
the protection weapon is the gun, the
judge.
45 caliber that
Judge.
he shot Jonathan with.
Okay.
So while she was there, I assume trying to dispose of his body, a group of bear hunters saw Britany camping near their baiting site, which is not allowed.
Their baiting site?
Yeah.
Were they masters at baiting?
Stop it right now. Anyway,
Never mind.
a conservation officer then met with Britany right after she had put Amerault's body in the creek. So he rolls up on the campsite. He's like, well, you can't be here. Like, what are you doing? Hours later, at the Berlin Police Department, Britany tells them everything that happened. She led investigators to the areas Armando had taken her to and confesses to the horrible 3 nights she endured.
But does she confess to everything?
Everything.
So that the shit about her husband also? Okay, good.
So investigators could see that Britany had obvious injuries to her eyes and her face. She had bruising around both of her eyes, burst blood vessels, petechia in the whites of her eyes, so they knew she definitely was strangled. A bruised nose. Oh my gosh.
All right.
A bruised nose and a chipped tooth.
And a chipped tooth.
This was consistent with the story she told investigators about the attack she suffered by the hands of Armando before the murder of the victim. So according to court documents, on September 22nd, 2020, Armando purchased topsoil, 3 bags of quick-drying concrete, a shovel, a 5-foot large metal frame, a blue tarp, and buckets.
Big blue tarp.
What do you think that means?
It sounds like he's trying to build like a concrete patio, probably off the back of the house. You know
Except
what I mean?
not at the back of their house.
He's trying to what do you call it? A pad, concrete pad. You know, so you can.
Well, he was clearly trying to pour concrete over his body and get rid of it.
So you can host company on a nice little pad, get a little rug out there, nice little patio set.
Little did he know that Britany was already telling the police everything that happened while he was out at Home Depot getting all this supplies.
Charge it.
Britany told the police that she and Armando destroyed evidence. She told them everything she did. She told them how Armando forced her to cut off Jonathan's head and how he forced her to stomp on his throat and cut his wrists. Which, like, I can't imagine.
Just because she was talking to the guy.
Yeah.
Did they actually do anything?
She said they kissed a couple times, but that was it.
Okay. That seems like a lot.
During the trial, Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Jenny Duval determined Amerault's death was caused by homicide with a gunshot wound to the head. Duval also testified that Amerault had deep cuts and lacerations on his scalp, legs, and arms.
They have his head.
Yeah, they found so they ended up going to the police and finding his entire body.
Okay.
His head, his body, all the weapons. She took them and showed them literally everything.
Oh, right. Because I was going to say, how How are they going to determine that he died from a gunshot wound in the head if they didn't have it?
Because when she was, when those people came, the bear baiter people.
Master baiters. Master bear baiters.
They noticed, like, something was weird about, like, the situation. So when they called the conservation police or whatever.
Trooper, police.
Yeah, they ended up seeing...
Ranger?
They ended up seeing how she tried to, like, hide his body under, like, sticks and stuff.
Okay.
So he was like, what the hell is going on here? And then that's when she, like, told them everything that happened.
All right. That makes sense.
And then, you know, they found his head, and they found, like, the weapons and everything. His car had blood in it. Armando's car has blood in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry about what happened here. So prosecutors say that the police and Jaffrey had been in contact with Armando after Justine Amerault reported her son missing when he failed to show up for work. Britany had also failed to show up for work, so when investigators first spoke to Armando, he claimed that his marriage was breaking up and that he hadn't seen his wife since Saturday when he dropped her off to go camping with friends. Oh, he dropped her off to go camping, all right, but not with friends. And he dropped her off to bury a body.
True. I don't usually do that when I go camping, so...
Same.
I don't think that is a good excuse.
Barron later agreed to meet with police, but instead took his oldest daughter and fled north. He was later picked up in Amerault and arrested.
Nice.
Along with the charge of first-degree murder, Armando was also charged with dozens of others, including second-degree assault, domestic violence, assaults, and kidnapping.
Uh-huh. Checks out.
During the trial, do you think he was found guilty?
Of everything or part of it? Or none of it? Or some of it? Or a piece of it? Probably not, though.
Armando was found guilty after only a few hours of deliberation and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus 45 years for all of the other charges.
Justice.
Britany Barron pleaded guilty to falsifying physical evidence for her role in covering up the murder, including the decapitation. She received 3.5 to 7 years in prison. She is out of prison now, but remains on parole.
Okay, so she got out in 3 years.
I think she got out sooner than that.
Huh. Okay. Well, because of this happened in 2020 and it's 23 now.
Yeah, I think she got out after... Oh, it might have been 3 years. No, it might have been like 2.
Well, would you say 3 or 3.5?
3.5 to 7, but I don't think she even served 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 was... Well, September of 20. It hasn't even been 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't even 3 years.
Okay.
That's the story. I did read the warrant for his arrest. And first of all, I didn't even know warrants were that long. Like, it tells you, like, literally everything in it. So we can link in the show notes if you guys want to read it.
Well...
It was very interesting.
So what's in it?
Like, literally everything.
Like what?
All the information.
Oh, my God. Like what?
Like, it tells you, like, why they want to arrest him, where they found him, what happened, what Britany says happened. It tells you, like, the medical examiners.
What they're looking for.
It tells you, like...
Their probable cause or whatnot.
It tells you, like, where they found his body, who found it, when they found it, how they taped off the scene. It's very long. Well,
that's probably why...
Because, you know, on, like, Law & Order, they show you, like, one sheet of paper, and they're like, warrant.
Got a warrant here. What's that guy's name? The fucking prosecutor that I didn't like at first.
Parisi?
Yeah, because he sounded like a fucking caricature of a typical New Yorker. You rat bastard.
Yeah.
You gotta rot in prison, you rat bastard.
When they show you those things on TV, they're literally, like, a folded sheet of paper. But, like, this thing was, like, 7 pages long.
Yeah, and then in movies, they're just like, we got a warrant, and they just shove it in their face.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, like, I had no idea that these were actually very detailed.
That's probably why a lot of cops don't like filling out paperwork, it seems. Especially shit like that.
Well, because they called it, like,
Well, I mean, they don't do it themselves, I guess, but...
It's like his, it's his warrant, but it's... God damn it. What's the difference between a warrant and an affidavit?
The affidavit is affirmed to a clerk of court and then is submitted to the judge.
Okay, so maybe that's what I read in the affidavit.
If probable cause exists, then the judge signs the affidavit, which becomes a warrant.
So that's what it is.
So it sounds like basically like a pitch as to why the police want a warrant. So like, we want to search his home because we believe X and Y and Z.
Well, I think they wanted to search like his car. Yeah, the home where they found like the saw. They found so much stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a lot. I didn't want to talk for like 3 hours, otherwise I would have listed it all, but it's a lot. That's why I said we can link the affidavit in the show notes, because I found it and I read the entire thing.
Right. So it's like basically just the request, and then if it's approved, then it becomes a warrant.
Yeah, well, this is like the entire court document.
Well, I'm just saying, the short...
I mean, we can list all the sources I used in the show notes, because in case you guys want to look at them.
Yeah.
But I heard about this story, like, somewhere else. They said, I was listening to another podcast, and they said something in passing, like, oh, the case of Britany Barron, the abused woman who cut off her lover's head, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I looked it up. But according to Britany, they were never lovers. They were just friends.
Well, that's what...
And he was only 25. 25? That's a baby.
I remember when I was 25. Not really, but...
I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
It just... Also, just for the record, it feels like the older you get, the bar changes for what's young and old. Because when you're like 10 years old, you're like, oh my god, 30 is so old. And now you're 30 and you're like, oh my god, 80's old.
Yeah.
Or you're like 15, you're like, oh my god, you're 50? That's old. And now you're 30 and you're like, I'm so young.
I mean, I was just like thinking about like, because of like with our jobs and stuff, like that would be like one of us befriending someone in that environment and then like sending them a harmless text like, I don't know, about like work or like sports or something, and then literally being murdered for it.
Right. But I don't know. So, wait, the text didn't have anything like...
It didn't say specifically
explicit?
what the text said. Or the Snapchat messages.
Okay.
I think it's just the fact that she was talking to another guy.
Yeah.
And he was clearly abusive. I mean, I'm sure he abused her many times before this. I don't think you go straight to strangulation.
Well, that's also probably why she wanted to talk to another man about anything.
Well, no, that's probably why she told him she can't have anything with him, because she knew how crazy her husband was.
Even though she already asked for a divorce?
Well, yeah, she asked for a divorce and then he tried to strangle her immediately.
So it sounds like he wasn't on board with that idea.
Yeah, I'm going to say that'd be like a hard no from him.
Okay. He could have just said that.
I mean, there's a lot of things he could have did differently.
And not done at all.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, so that's the story of the murder of John Amerault.
All right. Well, that's a lot. So, if your lady's talking to a guy, don't cut his head off. Don't make her cut his head off.
I always say, if, like, just don't kill me. Like, we can break up, just don't murder me. I don't want to be on Dateline. I don't want to be on 2020.
But he didn't murder her this time.
Yeah, he just murdered someone else. And he was strangling his wife while their kids were in the house.
Yeah.
Not like, don't do it when your kids aren't there, but like, damn, dude, you're going to do that right in front of your kids?
So did anything come of the kids? Did they just go to grandma's and then come back, or what?
They went to their I think they just stayed at their grandma's. But I told you, he like took his oldest daughter and was trying to like run away.
Right. Yeah.
But according to his, I believe I read that his 9-year-old daughter saw, like, she told the cops that she saw her dad hurting her mom.
Yeah.
You got nothing to say?
I don't know what to say to that. Like, I wasn't in that situation, so, I mean, I can empathize, and, you know, so that child has to carry that forever, and it's only 3 years later, so she's not much older now, but, Like, that's not going to leave you. You know, especially knowing what else he did to her and what else he made her do.
And knowing that your dad killed someone, now he's in jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the kids are probably better off. Which sounds like harsh to say, but at least they're not in that environment.
But if she's out now, does she get to have her kids back, or are they still with grandma?
I have no idea.
Because he said the oldest was 9 at the time.
I mean, I assume they're back with their mom.
So if
And then, of course, during the trial, the defense tried to say that Britany murdered Jonathan.
Right.
Because what else would they go with?
Mental insanity or whatever the fuck.
No, they didn't even try that.
Huh.
They just said, Britany did it.
That's usually the first step. It's just going for, what's the word? Insanity.
Insanity plea?
Your Honor, he was not in the right state of mind. No further questions.
What? Guess we haven't watched Law and Order in a while. You're a little rusty.
Gung gung.
Okay, well, on that note.
Yeah, it was well laid out. And I hope you don't do that to me.
I feel like it got a little confusing in the middle, but
we made it through.
It was my first murder case.
It's okay. We got there. We made it through. Did good.
Alright, well, till next time.
Alright. We're going to sign off this bitch.
Yeah, this bitch.
We out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.